Number 3 on your list. I'm very excited that you included him here. I did not know that you had him in your top 5. He is number 7 on my list. That's Jaden Hardy from the G League Ignite. I know he was a 5-star recruit coming into the G League Ignite, chose that program over going to college. Had an interesting year, kind of inefficient, but tell me why you have him so high here. This is really interesting.
So he is admittedly a guy that I thought about putting at number 2. And I think, yeah. And so I ask myself here, is this me clinging to the cognitive bias of having, of confirmation bias in terms of like just wanting to say, validate what I said when he was in high school, because he was one of 3 or 4 players who was in contention to be the number 1 prospect in this class at one point in time. Now he goes to G League Ignite, did not have a great season, especially in the beginning part, didn't play up to those expectations. He got better as the year went on though. And I think there's a couple reasons for that, but the other part of that is like, okay, is it a cognitive bias, or do I just know things that other people don't if all they watched is the G League? And I think those of us that watched us in high school have seen a different side of him. And the reason why he is so high on my board is because I don't know that there are many better microwave scorer type guard prospects in this draft. And I think he's got to, make sure that he's listening to the right people, playing the right way, not getting caught up in some of the distractions of who's the guy and all that nonsense, because I think that was part of the problem in the G League. But when it just comes to basketball, there's few people who can fill it up like he can in this draft. And I'm talking about creating space and shooting off the dribble and shooting with range. And that's something that I don't think people have a great appreciation for if you only watch the Ignite play this season. But I'm really buying him as someone who early in his career can come in off the bench and provide that instant type of offense, almost like a Jamal Crawford type. He doesn't have the same size and things like that, but that type of player who can create space, make shots, and just change the game with his ability to get buckets. I know that doesn't sound like a very nuanced analysis, but that is what this guy can do. And so I just think that, because the G League season didn't go as well as many expected, his stock is diminished in some people's eyes. And to me, I know the level of talent he has. I know the level of shot making he has. I know the ability to create space. I think ultimately he's a guy who's much better off the ball than on, and he should embrace that right now. But that is why I have him so high. I just think in today's NBA, if you can create space and you are highly skilled, you've got a role in today's NBA.
Okay. I thought I was taking crazy pills with Jaden Hardy. That feels very validating to me, because to start the season, I had him top 5. And thought that wasn't a crazy take at all. And he had a rough season with the G League Ignite. I refuse to drop him out of my first round. He's number 7 on the list, but number 24 on my top 100. He's definitely, to me, still has a first round grade. And he wasn't horrible. He wasn't great. The efficiency, I think, is probably maybe what gets him knocked the most. But he led G League Ignite in scoring. I think that's still something.
And I'm saying he had a bad year. Yeah, right.
Yeah. And that's something that maybe he didn't do it efficiently, right? And maybe that's a knock. But the fact that he was able to lead that team in scoring, I think, is pretty impressive in its own right. And the fact that he can create separation too,
no doubt.
That is absolutely a skill. That is not something that just comes, he can improve his efficiency, but you can't really improve creating separation. You either can do that or you can't. And Jaden Hardy can do that. And so you're getting, like you kind of mentioned, a microwave scorer, someone who can really light it up and score it from every level on the basketball court. To me, that's really intriguing. I think smart teams late in the first round are going to be all over this guy as potential, developmental prospect who has some real potential. Reminds me of Kevin Porter Jr. a little bit, coming out of USC, just a guy who can create separation. Maybe the efficiency wasn't super great, but I like his scoring ability. I think that can translate to the NBA. Jaden Hardy has kind of that bag to him as well. Needs to improve, I think, some of the finer points on offense to be kind of more diverse offensive weapon. But he's not, he's not Cam Thomas. Like, he's not only a shooter. Like, he has some jiggle to his game besides just
Oh
being
yeah,
a
he
shooter.
can shake. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this is someone I'm glad we're highlighting, because I think he's really interesting and probably going to end up being a first round pick, but someone who I think people have maybe given up on and don't think that's exactly right.
He's someone that I'm thinking long and hard about in the teens. Now, if you get to the 20s and you've got, decision makers who are trying to get a rotation player at a small salary, and they're looking for a higher floor guy, I can see that. But if you have a team that's looking for a high ceiling prospect, I really think if everything clicks, I know this is going to sound crazy, I would not be shocked if he ends up being an all-star one day. Like, if you said to me, hey, pick somebody outside of the top 10 who you think has a chance to be an all-star one day, he would be one of the first players I chose. Now, I'm saying that now it's obviously high risk, high reward. I'm not saying he's got a good chance to be that, but I'm saying after you get out of the top 10, when you ask yourself, hey, who is the sleeper in this year's draft, he would be one of the first names I would pick.
Yeah, and maybe the only other one that comes to mind that would maybe fit that criteria is Patrick Baldwin Jr. And he has a huge kind of caveat because he's been injured most of the last 2 seasons. So Jaden Hardy is not injured. He had a down year in the G League Ignite, but yeah, he is I think one of the biggest sleepers in this NBA draft.